Hey there. Hello, good friends and citizens of the world, everywhere. Did I, Paul Murphy? Got a little story to tell you. I was rushed into hospital. What is it today? Wednesday, Monday. I'm going too nasty to my toes are going septic, presumably because, you know, my body is dying from this disease, you know. Ambulance crew came round, they rushed me into hospital. I got to hospital, I think, about 1:30 p.m. I was left in my wheelchair until I think it was around 6:30 p.m. when I was finally seen by a doctor, Dr. Reese, good man. Sorry, 5:30 when I was seen by Dr. Reese. He examined my muscles and he saw that I was 90% leg dead. Obviously I didn't have the leg braces on and the metal rods that I have underneath my jeans hold me up because I was half naked. All I had on was a dressing gown and a jumper because I was in my little crib there. He examined me and he said, well, you know, you can't go home because you can't look after yourself, you know. The debilitation you can see, you know, I've just eroded away to nothing, and there's no chest muscles left or anything now. He said, you need to stay and we'll try and get some, because I've got no GP at the moment either. Since I launched the negligence action, my ex-GP, has crossed me off his books. Yet another doctor that will probably be at some point deciding he wants to retire early so he can collect his £1 million a year NHS pension and go to his mansion in Jersey. And when the police had called in, then the NHS said, oh, he's too ill to be interviewed. I'm referring to the neurology scandal there, of course. I asked for some fluid and please, I said pain medication. Because I mean, I'm taking a lot of pain medication to get through here, more than one should, but you know, you have to weigh up the consequences, you know, the mental anguish of living in constant agony against, you know, if you've got a disease that's killing you in any case, are you really that much worried about, you know, damaging your liver? You know, so you have to weigh those things up in the absence of the NHS prescribing me any medication at all. I was wheeled back out into the waiting room, and I don't know how many hours passed. They left me by the door, so every time the doors opened, it was freezing, and that didn't get above freezing that day. There's still snow outside on the ground here now. So every time the doors opened, you know, I've got this thin blanket on me that barely covers my modesty, should we say, you know. And so I just froze, you know. Anyway, about an hour and a half later, they whipped me into a cubicle and did an ECG and put a cannula in and explained that I was staying at least overnight. They were trying to arrange some social care for me. I'm very wary because, of course, you know, I can't do anything to raise money for my babies. They can't cure this, you know, this is the thing, you know, it's an incurable disease. But some help wouldn't go amiss, you know. You can't believe how much mail is out there, you know. And again, I said, please, can I have some pain medication? And can I have some fluid, please? I hadn't had a drink since 9 a.m. At that point, when they told me they were calling an ambulance, when the NHS 111 line said they were calling an ambulance for me. And food, you know, I've not had food for 3 days. Oh yeah, we'll sort it. I have to say, that the nurse in whatever that cubicle was in your hospital liked Dr. Rees, and that's his first name. I think it's R-H-Y-S, or R-E-E-S rather, not R-H-Y-S, and his surname begins with R, and he was amazing. He was very, very good. The main thing is he was concerned, you know. You see so many of these people and just, you know, all they're interested in is, are you going to die now? No. Sort of hope, you know. We'll put a referral in, you'll hear something in 6 months' time. But he said, look, you know, you're clearly in dangerous circumstances if you go home. He looked at the, you know, dent in my head from the last head injury when I blacked out and fell on, because the blackheads are coming thick and fast, you see. You don't see these on the videos. And the only reason the videos exist is, you know, I try and make upbeat videos when I've got that 10 minutes a day, and then my children will log on to that, because they go onto a different channel, you see. So my children have a different YouTube address, so if they want to go on there and they just see Daddy's happy videos, so they never know how ill I am, you know. That was then at 8 o'clock they changed nurses, and this other nurse came in, and I said, please, can I have pain medication and fluid, please? 11 hours without any fluid at that point, and, you know, hours, you know, because normally I'm taking pain medication, I break them up in little bits, and I'm taking a tiny piece every 15 minutes, so there's just a numbing there. You live with you live with the pain, but not with the agony. Oh yeah, I'll get you something, she said. Oh, jeez. Because the other nurse had said, I can hear her now, God bless you, I think your name began with an A, and in my complaint letter I have mentioned you, and I wish I knew your name. I did mean to ask the other nurse, but she was not in a conversational mood, too busy insulting a hysterical woman who must have been a couple of cubicles down from me. And she handed me over, and they did the handover a quarter's way. She was going on, and she said, this is Mr. Murphy. He's a lovely man, he's got a lot going on. Please don't put him back in the waiting room. He's going to be in overnight, and I'm going to leave him on this bed here. He's been in this wheelchair for 6 hours. It's not comfortable, and please look after him. Oh yeah, she said. So, well, yeah. Anyway, she came in to take the blood pressure and stuff, and I said, please. I said, please. I'm waiting for it. Oh, all right, she said. She came back with 2 paracetamols and some water, because I can't swallow, you know, my swallow mechanism. But I didn't care at that point. Oh, and I couldn't, my fingers had gone, my arm had gone numb, you know, because it's, the problem with this disease is, you know, the brain sends out the signals, but nothing happens, because all the muscle has just been eroded away on me. I mean, this is gone, you see, this was solid. I don't wish to be rude here, but if you look at the previous videos, that was solid 6 weeks ago, and now it's just liquid underneath that. And it's amazing how the brain does it. What the brain does is it obviously tries to find another way of getting your arm to move. This is why you only see me playing the same rhythm these days anymore, because, you know, that's all I can do, you know, mechanized as opposed to musical. And I was trying to reach the paracetamol like this, and my arm was going, I was trying to get my arm to move. And she said, oh, I'll put them in my mouth for you. So she put 2 paracetamols in my mouth. Of course, the water there, before I got any chance to warn her, and of course I start choking, you know. I'm lying on my back, you know, because my swallow mechanism doesn't work. That's hence the reason I don't eat solid food. I'm not allowed to eat solid food anymore. I would just die. You know, if I ate a sandwich, I would die, you know, I'd just choke to death. And to be honest, you know, it doesn't seem too bad an exit route, really. God bless Mama Cass. Not that she actually died of the ham sandwich. As I said, ham sandwich is a perfect point there. That's subliminal. So I started choking. So up these things. She tutted and she went, Dr. Rees, can you authorise a cannula? So she comes back an hour later with a paracetamol. Puts it in there. It didn't even touch it. She came back 20 minutes later. And she hadn't done it. That's right, she didn't put it in right. And then, God bless you, Matron Kim or Sister Kim. And so this, and after about 20 minutes of this thing being stuck in there, the curtain went back because I was in the cubicle that I had the bin in, so they had to keep pulling my curtain out. And this other nurse saying, she said, and I said, no, she said, well, it's not going down, she said. This nurse had put the cannula in wrong, so she got some kind of thing and flushed it through. And then she squeezed it, so it just went glug, 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 glug all the way through. You could feel it seeping up through the vein, you know. It's a lovely, cool numbing sensation, but it didn't take the pain away. Anyway, sometime around 11:30, I fell asleep. I was in that asleep, you know, normal thing, moaning and groaning in pain, and just went away. I still hadn't been given a drink though, and I had no fluid. Thank God for the mercy of sleep. 11:30, this nurse came in. Bear in mind, of course, that I'd reported this hospital. And not only that, I copied Stephen Barclay, the Conservative so-called Minister of Health. You worthless piece of garbage. Come and sue me for slander if you think you're not. Because I was attacked by an NHS personnel with scissors. I was manhandled, verbally assaulted, and then he attacked me with a pair of scissors as I sat in a wheelchair last November. I'm still waiting for the NHS to come back to me about that. I'm still waiting for Stephen Barclay. Oh, I copied the email of a letter about it at the hospital. And then the Thoke, as you know, may know from other things, he came out and he attacked me in the waiting room in front of 7 members of the public. And I literally had to start screaming for help. He came out again. And he had to be dragged off me by an NHS personnel. And I waited till the letter comes through, and there's no mention of any of this on the letter. It just says, Mr. Murphy now says he's better, he doesn't want any more care. A miracle cure, huh? You know, this is how you cure motor neurone disease and cancer and everything. Just, you got cancer, let's attack you with scissors. And then we send a letter out saying you don't need any more help. Anyway, this nurse knew me from that thing. She's wheeling me down through, and before they've been lifting me off, because the legs have gone completely numb at that point, you know. When I'm here, I've got a little thing underneath there that stimulates the nerves a bit. You know, it cost me a fortune. Thank you, NHS. I had 4 years of tax. And it's a little motorised thing, stimulates the nerves, and that allows me to stand up a little bit. And they, so she's wheeling me on down through. Oh, they made me clamber into the wheelchair, and they haven't put the brakes on the wheelchair. Okay, so I'm trying to use my arms because my legs are just flopping around. Imagine Joe from Family Guy, yeah? Okay, that was me. And they just stood there like that, watching me. And the wheelchair's sliding back. And she said, well, so I lifted my leg up, put my leg in, and I couldn't get the other leg up. She said, come on, get on here. I just flopped it over, you know, I didn't care anymore. Started wheeling me on down through this labyrinth of corridors. I said, please, when we get there, I said, I've had no fluid. I said, I've had no fluid at all, I said. This is 11 o'clock at night now. I'm gone 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night now. And I said, no fluid, I said, nothing, and no nutrition, meaning in hospital, the dietitian, I'm supposed to have these nutritional supplements. She said, oh, I can get you a ham sandwich, she said. And I said, well, I can't, you know, I'm in madness, you know. You know, you may as well, so I'll get you a brick to eat, you know. I said, no, I said, I can't eat that. And I said, I'm trying to say I can't swallow it. She said, well, you can break it up into pieces, she said. I said, well, I can't eat that ham sandwich in any case, I said, because of my religion. Oh, a Jew, she went. Oh, wrong, she went, oh, a Jew. And I thought, oh my God, I've heard that tone before so many times in my life. She wheels me into this cubicle in this wall around you to stay. Parks me up, and again, makes me climb up from the bed over to there. I need to speed this up. I mean, I'm exhausted, and she said, I was just sitting on the bed, and the bed, they hadn't put the brakes on the bed, so the bed started sliding into what, and I was just slumped there. She said, what are you going to say? I just wanted to be left alone. I'd been poked, prodded, I was in agony, I had no fluid and stuff. I just wanted, just to catch my breath a bit, you know. I'll go get you the sandwich, she said. And she had that look in her face. I'll get you that sandwich, you know. Nothing to do with not being able to eat it. It's to do with being a Jew. I've seen that look a million times in my life. You know, that was the thing. you know, because, no, you don't know that video, but when I came out of hospital in July, they were caught on the CCTV footage. The hospital workers came out and they were looking for some food, and I was in a wheelchair there, and they went out to look for some food at that, and they were going through the cupboards, and and I'd said there's nothing in the house to eat, and they were going through the cupboards there, and the big large pieces of this young girl with all the tattoos up, and she says to her, she said, well, there must be something in here you can eat. And she looks up and she said, give him a ham sandwich, then we'll see how hungry he is. And I reported that, you know. And then when I was in hospital again, this is where this vile creature had seen me before, on the October, they nearly got on the hospital bounty, I think it was October the 11th. And they were caught on there's a sign, there's CCTV camera in there, you see, because the house got smashed into when I was in hospital in July. And Nicolette, the so-called adult social care worker, and I'd said about this, you know, and she said, well, what are we going to do about finding your adult social care, Paul? She said, because if we give you adult social care, it'll be the same thing again, she said, so we can't give it. I said, so you're saying I can't have adult social care because they might be anti-Semites, and they might anti-Semitically abuse me, make anti-Semitic comments, and so I'm the victim, so it's my fault I can't have care, not your fault that you're employing anti-Semites. This is getting too convoluted. Anyway, so I saw this, like I said, and she went on, I said, just leave me alone. I said, you dirty anti-Semite. Curved my back, off she went out. This other nurse came in. She said, I want to take your blood pressure. All right, go ahead. She said, you need to get undressed, I can't do it when you've got your jumper on. Well, I'd had my blood pressure taken about 17 times so far that day, and they had no trouble. All they did was pull the sleeve up. Just anything to be antsy. And I said, I just want to be left alone. And she said, I need to take your blood. I said, well, if you can do it like this. No, I can't. She said, no, just power play, you know. I said, okay, I'd had enough, you know. I said, if there's any hospital transport going, I said, can you arrange hospital transport? I said, so I can go home. I said, because I'm dying of thirst. And I'm in so much pain. Oh, she went. This other nurse comes back. We have to take your blood pressure. I said, you leave me alone. I'm not going to take your racist abuse. Off she went out and she came back with this Asian guy, Tig, I think his name is. And he was there when I was attacked that last time. I know who you are, he said. He said, right, he said, you want to go home? You can go home. I said, no, there's no transport. He said, you get your own way home. I'm paralysed, I'm naked. You just find your own way home, he said. And I said, oh, here we go again. I said, here we go. I said, this is fine. I said, so you can see how I am. I said, and I said, yeah. I said, and this is how you treat army personnel. I know you, he said. I know your army. Now, as you know, that's a reference to the Jew army insult, you know. I said, you nasty piece of work. I said, why don't you go full out? I said, come on. I tried to get my phone out to record it. And I got my phone recorder on. I said, come on. I said, call me a dirty Jew to my face. I said, come on. That was it. He went out and he came back, and I was trying to explain, because this woman said, well, you can walk, or you can walk with a walking, you know. That's not how the disease works. It's a motor neuron disease, so you never know what's going to work at any given time, and it's getting worse as time goes on, you know. So he comes back again, I'm falling asleep, I'm sitting up, and they've got this, you know, movable thing there, and I'd slumped over it, you know, I just exhausted, midnight now. Just lunacy. And they come up with 2 security guards. Go on, he said. Out. I said, oh, what? Out, he said, you're going home. I said, oh, you got transport? No, he said, no. He said, you get a taxi home. He said, that's all there is. 2 security guards. Well, you've been unkind to the staff, he said, so you're going home, mate. And that was it. They got their thug security guards. I'm the victim here. And they put me in a wheelchair, and they wheeled me outside the hospital, and they left me outside the hospital all the way. And he said, you get a taxi. I said, well, can I get a wheelchair taxi? That's not my problem, he said. Atlas Security it was. And I said, well, I don't have any money. I said, they just literally put me in a wheelchair, put me on a stretcher and brought me in here. I said, look at me. I had no trousers, no socks, I'm just a dressing gown. That's not my problem. He said, you've been unkind to the staff, he said, so it's your own fault. That's your own problem. So they left me. A 61-year-old man with motor neurone disease, neurological dementia oncoming. It had no fluid, nearly 18 hours. I was half naked. I had no means of getting home, and they left me outside the hospital at 1 o'clock in the morning. The temperature was -8 outside. Everything was just pure ice. Google it. Just Google the temperature in Yeovil on Monday, I don't know what the date is today, that must have been the 16th, 17th, somewhere around there. So that's your NHS for you. Now I would suggest that if you went out to a disabled person's house today, shoved them in a wheelchair, half naked, and left them outside in -7 degrees, I would say that's attempted murder, wouldn't you? So this is your wonderful NHS in England. Anti-Semite scum murderers. Sue me for slander if you think that's not the case. If you want to know how it ends, and there were all these people coming in and out of the hospital, and there was a woman, she was phoning a taxi, and she said, are you okay, sir? This young girl, God bless you, whoever you were. And I was like, I don't know what I was more upset about, the fact that I was literally freezing to death, you know. Having been, you know, racially abused by a bunch of anti-Semite thugs, or the fact that, you know, some 24 or 25-year-old lady had called me sir, you know. I was like, oh, how old am I, you know? And I said, no, I said, not really. I said, I'm just kind of stuck here. I said, I'm just going to have to try and stay alive till 7 o'clock in the morning and get the Red Cross transport to take me home. You'll die, sir, she said. I said, well, I won't be the first person who's been murdered by this hospital, will I? She said, I'm just calling a taxi. She said, call a taxi. I said, I don't have any money on me. I said, I didn't bring any in. I said, I don't think I've got any at home at the moment because my disability payments have been stopped. I said, I know I had no cash at home, but I didn't know whether I had any money at bank account for a card to work. She said, God bless her, she said, call a taxi. She said, don't tell him, she said, and when you get home, just explain then. She said, look at you, she said, and just give him anything you've got in the house as collateral and pay him, she said. If you've got a watch or anything like that. I said, I've got watches, guitars. She said, do that, sir. She said, do that, she said. She said, when he gets there, explain that you've got no money, and she said, just give him something really, really expensive from your house. So, and take his number, and if you can't pay him back, then just tell him he can keep it. Tell him you can keep it. I thought, well, okay, it's a bit sneaky, but what the heck, you know. So I called a taxi. They had no wheelchair taxis. Oh my God. And the taxi came. God bless them. God bless Yeovil taxis. He turned up. Could only have been about 10 minutes later, because I was freezing. I mean, I was shivering. My teeth are clattering and everything, you know. And I might choke up in a minute. And there was a 72-year-old woman coming into casualty. I know she was 72 because she told me later. And she said, are you all right there? Is anyone looking after you? I said, no. I said, I've got a taxi. He's just texted me, he's pulling up. And she, oh yes, he's outside now. And I looked at him, I said, because I'm in the corridor outside the hospital, it's this thin walkway there. And I said, that wheelchair, you know. But he didn't want to get out of his taxi, or he didn't understand or whatever. I said, God, I don't want to upset him, I said, because I said, I've got no money to pay him, I said, and I'm going to have to offer him something from my house when I get home in lieu of payment, and pay him as soon as I can get some money. She said, oh, sir, she said, oh, young man, I said, I'm Paul Murphy. I said, madam, I said, I'm Paul Murphy. I said, I am so grateful to you. I said, yours are the first kind words I have heard in this hospital today. I said, and only since I've been out of this hospital have I heard kind words. Reference the other young lady. And God bless her, she was so frail, and she wheeled the wheelchair all the way out in this freezing weather over to the taxi. And the taxi driver got out of the car, and he came round and she explained the situation to him. And she gave me £30 to pay the taxi home. Then they both lifted me up, put me in the back of the taxi, strapped me in. And I asked her to give me her name, and she wouldn't. And I said, please, and she wouldn't give me her name. And I said, God bless you, madam. I said, may God give you the extra 20 years he's stolen from me. And she said, well, I would hope so, she said, because I'm 72. A 70-year-old woman out in that freezing temperature in casualty doing that. Well, those dirty, stinking, anti-Semite, thug NHS scum sitting there luxury bragging about they got some revenge back on the guy that complained about them last time around, who they left outside to freeze to death. So this is for them. Only under the Conservative government had this happen. Something in your soul that makes even the devil shudder. There's venom and vitriol in every syllable you utter. I don't know how you wake up, let alone how you sleep. Remember this though, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. In putrescence and slake the thirst of innocence tears. Your unholy essence shall drench their years, but I will pull them free from you, and so thou shalt ever keep, and know that as ye sow, so shall ye reap. What puce pleasure do you get inflicting pain on all you view? Salome herself would balk at all the twisted things you do. You enlisted with arcane eyes as you watch the children weep. Always know that as you sow, so shall ye reap. When justice should come calling, then balance the scales. One day your bed will not be filled, your screams will be the Noel pale. You'll never escape the pit you've dug, thus puce walls too steep. Just as slow as ye sow, so shall ye reap. world that you hurl, you glow below to see them hit. Your skull and crossbones flag unfurled, you're a racist as a don't quit. Do you think that people will forgive you, that you won't know defeat? Naive fool, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Where can you escape to that your infamy will not follow? When you land upon the stand, your excuses none shall swallow. Where you stretch is where you'll end, the circle shall be complete. Hazy scum, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Yeah, I know, and haywire on the words there. It's only the second time. I even looked at those lyrics. Oh, I forgot that. Okay. Anyway, that's the NHS, and it's a worldwide thing. Just in case, I must just put a PS into this as well. And that, just in case you think this is just me and bad luck on me or my own. There was so I'm in this so you get wheeled in from the waiting room into, I guess it's some kind of casualty area, I don't know. It's not the A&E department, it's there now, but it's, I don't know, it's where they assess you or whatever, and you're in these little cubicles with these little blue curtains that come over. So I'm there lying there. And I could hear some woman sobbing, maybe 2 or 3 cubicles away. And that went on for a little while, and then I could hear someone crying, and presumably a nurse talking to her. And anyway, things then settled down, and then the nurse comes back into view from up there, and she's going past, and she's joined by this other nurse that comes out. And she said, what's all that about? And she said, oh, drama queen, worked herself into a fit. She said, I had to sit there and comfort her. She says, if I haven't got enough to do. And, so if people are in a hospital and they don't know what's happening, and they're very ill, they can be a bit upset and stuff, but it's just what I cannot convey to you, because I'm not that kind of human being, is the absolute contempt in this nurse's, and I'm saying that in inverted commas, voice, as she referenced whoever this poor woman was, the absolute contempt and scorn, just, beggars belief, The NHS is, I've said this before, the NHS is the world's biggest Ponzi scheme. You pay in and you pay in and you pay in without any choice, and you get nothing out of it. And I've said this again as well. The only people that don't want the NHS to be privatised is people that have got a vested interest in the NHS. Because if this is, no other business ever would survive on that level of failure. The amount of money that goes in to what you get out of it, it's just, look at me, I've not had a day's treatment, I mean, I've had plenty of days mistreatment, ill treatment. And I've notified them, not just about myself, but that poor guy with dementia, Ennis, who they bullied and bullied and bullied. And he died. He died before my very eyes at 4 o'clock in the morning there. And what did that scumbag night nurse do? She stood there and she went through his things for 15 minutes. Well, actually, it was a lie. It must have been about 8 or 9 minutes, I guess. And then she looked up and she saw me sitting up in bed watching her. And she drew the curtain around. And then she went outside and she said, no, bed 5 is unresponsive. Unresponsive. He was dead and you were there going through his thing. You can see your name, it's huge. I know your name as well. It rhymes with Hecky. And dear Adrian Rowe, I'm assuming I can name you now because I'm assuming that you have died now. The guy that phoned the police and begged them to come and get him out. He had fluid on the lungs, blood pressure of 87. I think he was about 90 as well, or something. I think I heard him somewhere. And he was, and he literally couldn't take it anymore, and he phoned the police. And this would have been July the 11th, I think it was on Sunday, 2022. Begging them again. They're hurting me, he said. And they were telling him advance, they were going to, mocking him, walking away, singing songs, you know, you make me want to shout. Well, we're going to hurt you now, Adrian. They're telling him in advance. Why? Oh, Adrian, look, your cannula's come loose. We're going to hurt you now, Adrian. You can see, you know. Of course, the police didn't come up because, well, we all know how corrupt the police are. What is it? 800 rapists? And they want special treatment, so, you know, stick a uniform on, so on. And the other thing is, just as the thing is, and all this all about nurses being supported. There was a poll done recently, wasn't there? And they asked so many people, and they said, do you think nurses are underpaid? And like 90% of the people, I'm paraphrasing this, said, oh yeah, they're underpaid. And then they asked them, how much do nurses get paid? And no one knew. So everyone said, oh yeah, nurses are underpaid, but they had no idea how much. I mean, you know, but it's not a case of nurses. Don't think of them as nurses. Think of them as people who are taking 11% of your money and racially abusing you, physically abusing you, being negligent, laughing at your illnesses and stuff. I wish someone would give me 30 grand a year to take a bottle of urine and empty it down the sink. Anyway. Because I've got the leg braces on, of course I've been standing up too long and now the legs are wobbling around like jelly. Because I've got gangrenous toes, unfortunately, as well. Oh, don't let that be my last song.